All right, everyone, back at the lake. First playable hand, I look down at ace, queen, jack, jack, single suited in the big blind in a straddled pot. Under the gun makes it 35. There are two callers to me, and I call. So we're going four ways to a flop. Ball comes ace, 9-3 rainbow. Checks to me, I check over to the original raiser who bets 150. Folds to me, and normally it would be an auto fold. He only has $30 behind. So I thought about it for a little bit. I do have a backdoor flush draw, even though I have 3 diamonds. I believe if I had, say, like ace, queen, jack 10, as opposed to the jacks in my hand, I probably would have called. But what do you think? Would you guys have called in that spot? I ended up folding, so he's going to take it down. Here, look down at ace, king, king, queen, single suited in the small blind. There are a couple late position limpers. I make it 20 total, and there are 2 callers, so we're going 3 ways to a flop. Flop comes jack 9-6 with 2 diamonds. Action checks through to a turn, which brings a 5. Action checks through again to a 10, and I bet 30, and both my opponents fold, so we take it down. Here, look down at ace, king, jack 7, single suited in middle position. There's an early position limp. Next player makes it 25. Over to me, I call. Another caller behind, over to the button who makes it 75. 1 caller to me, I call, and 1 player behind calls, so we're going 4 ways to a flop. Flop comes 6-6-2 with 2 hearts. Checks to me, I bet 215, and everyone folds, so we take it down. Here, look down at ace, ace, 10-7, single suited under the gun in a straddled pot. I limp. Player to my left pushes for his remaining $20. There are 4 callers back to me. I make it 150. Next player has 165. He pushes all in the middle. Another caller, and of course I call. So we're going 4 ways to a flop. Flop comes 9-4-2 rainbow. The player that I'm on the side with has about 500 left, and I just bet enough to put him all in, and he thinks for a bit and folds. So we're going 3 ways to a run out. Turn brings a king. River brings a deuce, which looks like a pretty good card for me, as now obviously we have the best 2 pair. So I turn over my hand, and both my opponents muck, so we take it down here. So I've said this to a lot of people in the comments, and I say it many times to a lot of the members in the PLO Posse, the community we launched a couple weeks ago, that I believe knowing the GTO play is very valuable, but I believe the way you win the most money in live PLO nowadays is to make exploits based on the game you're in. So for example, this particular hand, the GTO play obviously would just be to open under the gun with aces. That's always going to be the way to go. But I noticed that the player to my left had just lost a very big pot, and he only had $20 left. So by limping under the gun instead of raising, and it was most likely going to be a situation where he pushes all in, that reopened the action. So, there was 4 callers to me, and I was able to reopen the action, make it 150 and get another, 2 callers out of it. So basically another $300 out of it, as opposed to just raising. So that's, an example of things that I talk about in the PLO Posse. So if you're still, looking to get in there, we have a great group. We're up to about 20 guys in there. So it's $49 a month, and I'll have a link in the top of the description. Here, look down at king, queen, 10-3, double suited on the button in a straddled pot. There is 1 limper to me. I also limp. Big blind completes as well. Straddler makes it 60. Player folds to me. I call, and the big blind calls. So we're going 3 ways to a flop. Flop comes jack 9-6 with 2 hearts. The original raiser pushes for about 195. I make the call, and the big blind gets out of the way. So we're going heads up to a run out. Quick note here, you don't really want to get in the habit of calling off huge amounts with wraps when there's a flush draw available that you don't have. That's usually a recipe for disaster. But, the original raiser only had the 195 left. So, it wasn't going to cost me anything else to, see 2 cards with my wrap. So that's why I called. Turn brings a queen. River brings a 3. So I turn over my hand knowing we're obviously good. And the original raiser turns over king, jack of hearts and mucks his other 2 cards. So fortunate to win there and dodge a flush draw of my opponent. Here, look down at ace, ace, queen, 5, single suited in the small blind in a straddled pot. Under the gun makes it 30. There are 2 callers. Over to the button who makes it 170. I 3-bet to 640. Over to one of the short stacks who calls all in for about 400. Back to the button who tanks for a couple minutes and eventually makes the call. So we're going 3 ways to a flop. Flop comes 9-8-6, all clubs. I decide to check over to my opponent who only has about $200 left, and he puts it all in the middle. And of course I snap call. So we're going 3 ways to a run out. Turn brings a 9. It's obviously not a great card. River brings a 2. And not sure if I have it or not, but early position player shows flush with a queen, jack of clubs. Button shows king, king, 4-3 with the king high flush. and everyone has flushes, and obviously we got the nut flush here, so we're taking it down. As I'm taking in the pot, the big blind says, "You're welcome for folding." And he says he had 10, 8, 8, 7 with the 10, 7 of clubs. So the crazy part is that every single club was accounted for except for the 3 of clubs. So happy to take down a pretty nice pot here. Here, look down at ace, king, 10, 3, double suited under the gun. I make it 20, and there are 3 callers. So we're going 4 ways to a flop. Well comes king, 5, 4 rainbow. I check, and action checks through. So still going 4 ways to a turn. Turn brings a 10, now giving us top 2. I bet 60, and there are 3 callers, so we're still going 4 ways to a river. River brings a 6. I check over to one of the middle position players who bets 130. Folds to me, and I don't really block the top end of the straights. Obviously, having a 3 does block some of the lower end ones, but this player is pretty sticky. He has been known to throw in a couple river bluffs here and there, so I decided to look him up and make the call, and he turns over 7, 5, 3, 2. So he got there on the river, and he's going to take it down. Ended up folding this hand, of course, but I just wanted to show it, as I believe it's only the second time I've ever had quads in my hand. Here, look down at ace, ace, queen, queen, single suited under the gun. I make it 20, and there are 4 callers, so we're going 5 ways to a flop. Well comes king, 10, 5 with 2 clubs. I check over to middle position player who bets 35. Folds to the cutoff who makes it 150. I make the call, and the middle position player folds. So we're going heads up to a turn. Turn brings in the front door flush with a 7 of clubs. I bet 375, and my opponent quickly calls. So we're going heads up to a river. River brings a 4, so it doesn't change anything. And I'm thinking of an amount to bet, and it is unfortunate that I also have the queen of clubs, making it less likely that he's going to call. But I bet 675, and he snap folds, so we take it down. Here, look down at jack, 10, 9, 9, single suited on the button in a straddled pot. Folds to me, I limp over to the blinds who both complete, and we're going 4 ways to a flop. Well comes 9, 8, 5 rainbow. Checks to me, I bet 25, and only the straddler calls, so we're going heads up to a turn. Turn brings a 10, my opponent checks, and I also decided to check back, so still heads up to a river. River brings a king, my opponent now bets 50, and here I decide to call, as I do have the blocker to both straights, and my opponent shows king, jack, 7, 3, so he hit the only card he could on the turn, and he's going to take it down. I played for a little while longer after the previous hand, played for about 5 hours total, and decided to rack up. What's up, guys? Wayne back here with you. So today I was in for 600, out for 27.31, so profit of 21.31. First session in about 3 weeks, so it definitely felt good to get back in the action. If you haven't already done so, check out my previous video. I'll link it up here, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.